Chapter 15 of Ormond by Maria Edgeworth. This Librivox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Bruce Peary. Vain of showing that he was not in the slightest degree jealous, Connell talked to Ormond in the freest manner imaginable, touching with indifference even on the very subject which Ormond, from feelings of delicacy and honour, had anxiously avoided. Connell seemed to be perfectly aware how matters had stood before his arrival between Dora and our young hero. "It was all very well," he said, "quite natural, in the common course of things, impossible it should have been otherwise. A young woman, who saw no one else, must inevitably fall in love with the first agreeable young man who made love to her, or who did not make love to her. It was quite equal to him which." He had heard wonders from his father-in-law elect on that last topic, and he was willing to oblige him, or any other gentleman or lady, by believing miracles. Ormond, extremely embarrassed by the want of delicacy and feeling with which this polished coxcomb spoke, had, however, sufficient presence of mind to avoid, either by word or look, making any particular application of what was said. "You have really prodigious presence of mind, and discretion, and tact, for a young man who has, I presume, had so little practice in these affairs," said Connell. "But don't constrain yourself longer. I speak frankly to take off all embarrassment on your part. You see, there exists none on mine. Never for a moment. No, how can it possibly signify," continued he, "to any man of common sense, who or what a woman liked before she saw him? You don't think a man who has seen anything of the world would trouble himself to inquire whether he was or was not the first love of the woman he is going to marry? To marry, observe the emphasis, distinguish, and seriously let us calculate." Ormond gave no interruption to his calculations, and the petit maître, in a tone of philosophic fatuity, asked, "Of the numbers of your English or Irish wives, all excellent, how many, I pray you, do you calculate are now married to the man they first fell in love with, as they call it? My good sir, not 5%, depend on it. The thing is morally impossible, unless girls are married out of a convent, as with us in France, and very difficult even then. And after all, what are the French husbands the better for it? I understand English husbands think themselves best off. I don't pretend to judge, but they seem to prefer what they call domestic happiness to the French esprit de société. Still, this may be prejudice of education, of country. Each nation has its taste. Everything is for the best in this world, for people who know how to make the best of it. You would not think, to look at me, I was so philosophic. But even in the midst of my military career, I have thought profoundly. Everybody in France thinks now," said Monsieur de Connell, taking a pinch of snuff with a very pensive air. "Everybody in France thinks now," repeated Ormond. "Every man of a certain rank, that is to say." "That is to say, of your rank," said Ormond. "Nay, I don't give myself as an example, but you may judge. I own I am surprised to find myself philosophizing here in the Black Islands, but one philosophizes everywhere." "And you would have more time for it here, I should suppose, than in Paris?" "Time, my dear sir! No such thing. Time is merely an idea. But tais-toi, Jean-Jacques, tais-toi, Condillac. To resume the chain of our reasoning, love and marriage, I say it all comes to much the same thing in France and in these countries, after all. There is more gallantry, perhaps, before marriage in England, more after marriage in France. Which has the better bargain? I don't pretend to decide. Philosophic doubt, for me, especially in cases where 'tis not worth while to determine. But I see I astonish you, Mr. Ormond. You do indeed, said Ormond, ingenuously. I give you joy. I envy you, said Monsieur de Connal, sighing. After a certain age, if one lives in the world, one can't be astonished. That's a lost pleasure. To me, who have lived out of the world, it is a pleasure, or rather a sensation. I am not sure whether I should call it a pleasure, that is not likely to be soon exhausted, said Ormond. A sensation, and you are not sure whether you should call it a pleasure. Do you know, you've a genius for metaphysics. I? Exclaimed Ormond. Ah, now I have astonished you again. Good. Whether pleasurable or not, trust me, nothing is so improving to a young man as to be well astonished. Astonishment I conceive to be a sort of mental electric shock, electric fire. It opens at once and enlightens the understanding, and really you have an understanding so well worth enlightening. I do assure you that your natural acuteness will, whenever and wherever you appear, make you un homme marquant. Oh, spare me, Mr. Connal, said Ormond. I am not used to French compliment. No, upon my honour, without compliment. In all English bonhomie, laying his hand upon his heart, upon the honour of a gentleman, your remarks have sometimes perfectly astonished me. Really, said Ormond, but I thought you had lived so much in the world you could not be astonished. I thought so, I own, said Connal, but it was reserved for Monsieur Ormond to convince me of my mistake, to revive an old pleasure, more difficult still than to invent a new one. In recompense, I hope I give you some new ideas, just throw out opinions for you. Accept, reject, reject now, accept an hour, a year hence perhaps, just as it strikes, merely materials for thinking I give you. Thank you, said Ormond, and be assured they are not lost upon me. You have given me a great deal to think of seriously. Seriously? No, that's your fault, your national fault. Permit me, what you want chiefly in conversation, in everything, is a certain degree of, you have no English word, lightness. Légèreté, perhaps you mean, said Ormond. Precisely. I forgot you understood French so well. Légèreté,